We are immersed in various levels of story. The context of the Yoga Vasistha itself is set within various levels of story. And we're hearing a story from Bhasa, the Shining One, who was originally known as King Vipashchit. And Bhasa has been saved by the fire god from dissolution, from a cosmic dissolution which was caused by a massive corpse falling on the world. And we're hearing about the story of this corpse and its various incarnations until he became a hunter. And one day the hunter met a sage who seems to be instrumental in this hunter's enlightenment. And the sage is telling him various stories which happened after the sage entered into the ojas, into the vitality of another person. And the sage forgets himself in this ojas and becomes that other person. And he'd been living with his family in one of these states of forgetfulness for 16 years. He was probably a young boy at the time when he met an ascetic. If you're a bit confused and lost but at this point, then that's okay, don't worry, because this is how things are, dreams within dreams. And the ascetic is giving the boy a teaching. All of us are in the heart of a macrocosmic being who is regarded as such by all of us. Even so, there will be other macrocosmic beings for others. This macrocosmic being is the cause for the experiences of pleasure and pain and for the diverse types of actions. When the ojas of this macrocosmic being is disturbed, it is agitated, and that effect is experienced by all of us who are in his heart. We are affected by natural calamities which cease when his heart gains equanimity. Therefore, this macrocosmic being is the reality of this particular creation. By coincidence, when some people engage themselves in evil actions, the resultant unhappiness befalls all. This was in response to a question about good and evil actions and their consequences. And in the previous paragraph he'd said that all this is notional. There's no such thing as a law of karma or anything. These are notions which we adhere to, by which we make sense of things, by which we construct our reality. But now we've got this notion of a macrocosmic being. And again, this is very much part of the cultural context. Like the law of karma, all of us are in the heart of a macrocosmic being who is regarded as such by all of us. Well, clearly, we don't all regard this macrocosmic being as such. This particular teaching comes up now and again, and I haven't really given it much attention because it's not one that I've related to. But it can be useful, and if you find this a useful teaching, then by all means go with it. It is perhaps a more honest understanding of the situation, and it can help remove subtle egoistic tendencies which can still hamper the extent of our realization. It can still hamper the extent of the realization of pure consciousness. For example, there's stuff going on, and one of the ways we make sense of the stuff is to the extent to which we feel we've got control over it. I can control this stuff to some extent. I've got very limited control over this stuff, which we refer to as my body. But most of the stuff going on, in my experience, is completely unrelated to my body, or it seems that way anyway. And it certainly is that way in terms of control. I have no control over world events. I have no control over the weather, and so on. And this is also the case with dreams. dreams which are supposed to be arising in my very own consciousness. I don't seem to have much control over them, even if you develop lucid dreaming. There's an awful lot of stuff going on in a dream which is just as much out of your control as the world is in your waking state. You'll meet people in your dreams that you don't know. Unpleasant things will happen. In fact, I've occasionally have dreams in which I don't appear at all. I'm not even an element in my dreams. So, in what way are they my dreams? All we can say is that there's dreaming going on. We might think that these dreams are meaningful. Perhaps a lot of times they're just meaningless, just like noise. So what we can say is there's a dreamer going on, and we can describe this as the cosmic being or the cosmic person. If it suits you, it gets us rid of the notion that it is me that is dreaming, which still gives us a sense of responsibility for it. It still gives us a sense of ego. But we can let it all go and just say, there's the cosmic being, the macrocosmic being which is doing the dreaming. It's the macrocosmic being which is dreaming me, the notion of me, the notion of you, and so on. But we mustn't fall into the trap of thinking that that macrocosmic being is something distant, as something separate from us. It's fundamental to us. It's not something out there. So as long as we don't fall into that trap and creating this sense, this immense sense of duality, if we can allow ourselves to dissolve into this macrocosmic being, then that can be very useful. So the macrocosmic being, it's the dream that's happening basically. And all the calamities and disasters that happen can be understood as this person being a little bit out of sorts with respect to their vital energy, their ojas. But we give up any idea that we can do anything about it. It's all just part of the dream. So maybe you find this notion of the macrocosmic being useful, maybe not. But you're at liberty to do with this notion as you wish.